Welcome back to Takeout. Before we get to our distinguished political panel, to answer your question, I know you're all thinking about it. Yes, I've been distracted, okay? The wild card game is going on while we're doing this show, and the Padres lost 3-1 in Game 1, but it's just a strategy to lull the Cubs into a false sense of security. All right, back to the regular program. Barring a breakthrough, which we have pretty much let you know there isn't very many signs of, the federal government will shut down just after midnight tonight. To discuss this and pull it apart politically and otherwise, our political panel, former Director for DNC Chair Jamie Harrison, Hyma Moore, and Republican political strategist, and significantly, CBS News contributor Terry Sullivan. Great to have you here.
Good to see you.
Yes, I'm in mourning. I'm kind of dealing with that. So let's
that strategy didn't work for the Nats too well.
No, it's the best I've got. Yeah. Look, in difficult circumstances, you come up with the best strategy you can, and I'm just saying we're lulling the Cubs into a false.
We're rebuilding. Like the coffee mug, though. You're doing well.
There we go.
You're doing your part.
Very retro, very retro. All right, Terry, go first on the shutdown. What do Republicans gain from a shutdown, if anything?
It's not about what they gain. I mean, look, nobody gains anything from a shutdown ever.
Yet they keep happening.
Right, they keep happening. Look, Democrats need to check the box to feed their base. They need, a little blood on their hands to show they're fighting really hard, sticking it to Donald Trump. But look, at the end of the day, they're going to cave. Republicans are not going to meet them in the middle. They're just going to walk away. Trump has no incentive to do anything other than just hold the line.
And so Democrats have to decide at what 5 or 10% do they extract that looks like a victory but probably isn't.
Right. It's just 2013 all over again, only the shoe's on the other foot.
Hyma?
Yeah, I don't disagree with what my co-panelists just said. But look, I was just talking to some of the Jeffries people. And
Hakeem Jeffries, minority leader in the House.
And I think the leader would like people to know that, to your point, he is fighting. And I think what they've said over the last 9 months on the Democratic side is Donald Trump has not lowered costs. And I think what they've decided is not lowering health care costs is going to be their cross to bear for the next couple of months. And so, look,
and their way to enter the political year of 2026.
Yeah, and there's a lot going on. And there's a lot happening in New York. There's a lot happening, in New Jersey and Virginia with that governor's race. So I think Hakeem Jeffries, the leader of the House, is trying to insert himself into the national conversation a little bit more. And I think more importantly, what he's trying to do is give his members something to run on, because we're in this mini primary season right now. And then I think he wants his voters to know that, look, we are fighting for you. We do care about health care. We are pissed off about the big, beautiful bill. And we are trying to find some concessions.
So while we're talking, if the control room can call up the United States Senate floor, you'll see voting on the Democratic alternative. That's expected to fail. Then the Republican alternative, that's expected to fail. We're just sort of going through the motions here. On this program last night, Mike Lawler, Republican congressman from New York, said Schumer is fighting because he's afraid of his left flank and Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. Do you agree with that, and walk my audience through what that looks like?
Well, you and I have talked about this a bunch of times over the past few months. Chuck Schumer, the leader of the Senate, is going to have to run for re-election himself next year in New York. What we've heard over the last couple of months is the representative, AOC, as they call her, she is considering running for the Senate. And so what she's telegraphed all over New York and all over the country is if Chuck Schumer does not behave in the way that the party would like him to behave, he ought to be primaried. Now, there's a whole flank of people who don't agree with that. There's a whole flank of people. Chuck Schumer has been the leader for a very long time, coming under Harry Reid. And so he does have a lot of institutional support. However, what we've seen over the past year and having Donald Trump re-enter this sort of arena, everything's different now, particularly with the mayor's race in New York. I think that's put some pressure on him. AOC was one of the very first supporters of Mandani, and so she's using that as some distinction for Chuck Schumer. And look, think about what happened last year the year before last with the college student loans. Chuck Schumer had never been pro-erasing loans, and he's emerged to be one of the top proponents of that. And so you're going to see Chuck Schumer over the next couple of months, particularly around the shutdown, you're going to see him try to emerge as a fighter and a leader.
Terry, I want to talk to you about something that's happening in the broader world of Senate politics. Paul Feinbaum, for those of us who follow SEC sports, I count myself among them, know him very well. He said
Are there other conferences?
Yeah, on the other conferences. Good question. It matters more in the SEC. Just don't ever forget that. On Outkick, a program on ESPN, he talked about possibly running for the Alabama Senate. Listen.
If the President of the United States says, Paul, you're my guy, can you tell him no?
Impossible to tell him no. There's no way I could. I would say yes.
Stephen A. Smith, look out. Paul Feinbaum might run for the Senate.
Yeah, wow.
Would that be fun to see him in the Senate, hanging out with all the floor?
It might be, but he's not the most dynamic individual. I don't know,
But it's this interesting crossover of sports and celebrity and politics.
100%. Well, that's what I was going to say. Is look, that matters now more than ever before. We're seeing more and more celebrity politicians.
Visibility that you already have.
You pre-baked in name ID, and that's expensive to buy. And even in a state like Alabama, and he's got a lot of name ID there now. Some of it's not good the way he's crapping on Alabama right now in the team, but I still think like he's going to be a formidable candidate if he decides to run.
And this idea, Hyma, that if you have your own identity, then you can transfer that to politics. Quite separate from whether you have any political skills or not, you have a visibility.
You do, and it doesn't always work. And I think President Donald Trump is the clear example of that. I mean, everyone knows Donald Trump even before he ran for president. And I think you're going to see that. Stephen A. Smith and these individuals, even on the Democratic side, Mark Cuban, these individuals. And some people would say everyone has a taste for power and a taste for politics, and so I'm not surprised by it. But to your point, they do have a built-in name ID, and for some people, they ought to think about it.
It worked well for Trump. It did not work so well for Herschel Walker.
No, it did not.
There are limitations. There are very much limitations. Terry Sullivan, Hyma Moore, always a pleasure. Remember, the candy doesn't eat itself. Grab all you want.